The Solomon Islands is a nation consisting of over 900 South Pacific islands east of Papua New Guinea, known for lush rainforests, volcanic mountains, coral reefs, and crystal clear lagoons. There's also a small creature that inhabits the forest floors of this tropical archipelago. Meet Tribolonotus schmidti, the Schmidt's helmeted skink, the smallest species within the crocodile skink genus, and a unique cousin to the red-eyed and white-eyed crocodile skinks I'm already keeping and breeding. In today's video, I'm beyond excited to share with you all that I'm adding a large group of these micro mini dragons to the reptile room. Let's get started. In this box are 20 mini dragons. No, I'm not joking. There are literally 20 mini dragons in this box. And in today's video, we're not just going to unbox them from here and take a look at each individual. We're going to rehouse them into bioactive bins where they will settle and begin the third branch of the Project Mini Dragon series. Friends, this is a video that is 3 years in the making. 3 years because for the last few years, I've desperately been trying to find these skinks with literally no luck. Until my dear friend Armin of Herptime, there's no way you guys haven't heard of him. If you're on Instagram or YouTube, you've heard of Armin. He's the coolest guy, he has the coolest animals, he's doing great things with reptiles and amphibians. Armin imported many of them from the Solomon Islands because the species is basically non-existent in the trade, and he offered some to me. This gem of a human being said, Dion, I know you and the Tribolonotus genus. Do you want some of these? I will export them to you. And I said, buddy, absolutely. I've been looking for these for years. So Armin put aside 20 of them for me. He let me pick out the sex ratios, male and female, which ones I wanted. Pretty much long-term caught. They've been well established for the last 4 months. And here we are.
What's up, you guys? It's Herptime. And this is a Schmidt's dwarf crocodile skink. These are going to my friend Dion, but I'm on a time crunch. I have to pack them because they have to be to FedEx in time to get to Dion, and I don't want them packed for very long, so I'm doing it at the last minute because time is of the essence to keep these guys out of deli cups as long as possible. So I'm gonna show you guys all of them and then pack them up. Okay, here's most of the group that's going to Dion. I'm gonna have to pull out a few more. Look at these animals, just amazing little creatures. I'm gonna show you guys how I'm keeping these. It's super simple, bare bones. I know Dion's gonna do something cooler. These are also kind of temporary for me, but you can see they hide a lot. Here's one in there. It's a nice female. Digging the sphagnum. Here we go. Beautiful male. Open one more just so you guys get an idea. Again, there's a pair right there. Lots of hiding spots, really humid. This pothos is a great plant. That is a female. Let's find that male. Oh yeah, he's right there. Oh yeah, that's a big male. What a cool species. Look at that thing. There was one male in here that was awesome. Look at that guy. Oh yeah. That's a full-grown male. Really, really, really cool animals. All right, time to pack. I'll be back. All packed up. Major time crunch though. We gotta get them to FedEx in the next 20 minutes so that they can get to New York, and then they can go to Canada, and then they can go to Dion. So these guys have a few-day travel trip. That's why I packed them late in the day. So let's get them out. Let's hope they all make it safe to Dion. Dion, let me know how they arrive.
I'm so excited to work with these animals, and I know that you're gonna be excited to learn about them too. So the first thing we're gonna do here is unbox these lizards. I'm going to then show you how I set up their little bioactive or naturalistic bins so that you can better understand how it is we believe they live in the Solomon Islands and what I was going for. Oh man, here we go. This is like Christmas at the beginning of April. Oh my goodness. And fun fact, did you know that Tribolonotus schmidti is arguably one of the smallest skink species in the world? Hello. There's a stack of females here. Just gonna go like this. This is so cool. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here's a group of males. Here they are. 4 stacks of 5 skinks. So friends, as you can see, I got quite a few of the Tribolonotus schmidti. There's 20 individuals. I decided to do this because, as I said, I want to have a really systematic breeding project, sort of like the Stenodactylus. You know, I got a lot of them because I want there to be a decent amount of genetic diversity to create different groups and lineages and whatnot. And so with these animals, I didn't know what I was getting myself into as far as the robustness or hardiness of each animal. And I know, and I'll touch on this shortly, they're not very prolific. So it made made sense to me, also based on how tiny they are, that I'd be able to accommodate the space needed to maintain and keep a healthy group this size, with the intention of it growing and expanding to a reasonable population. Now we're gonna go ahead and individually inspect that each animal is alive and well. And once we've done that and you've had eyes on each animal that I received to kind of see what they look like, we're gonna put them in their new homes. Guys, I really can't even begin to express how excited I am about this. This is truly a dream come true. All right, so we're gonna start over here. Cool markings. This is a female. Unlike their cousins, Tribolonotus schmidti is viviparous, which means that they give birth to live young. You'll notice that a lot of these females I'm showing you are quite girthy, which likely indicates that they are expecting. Now again, I cannot stress enough how little information is available online on the life history of this species. It's been a bit frustrating looking up information on reproduction. There's just sort of random anecdotal accounts from other hobbyists that have some level of success. But the consensus seems to be that females produce 1 offspring per year. Naturally, I have every intention to reproduce them at some point. I really like the idea of actually holding back several of those offspring, raising them to adults, pairing them off, and then potentially trying to measure the fecundity and fertility of each species so that we know how often they can reproduce in captivity and how many offspring a female is capable of producing in her lifetime. Obviously this will take a lot of work, but I think it's worthwhile. I was overly impressed and shocked by the calm demeanor of these skinks as I unpacked them, maybe with the exception of this male, who was a little bit more skittish. But honestly, this is my first experience interacting with this species, and it's just nice to learn that they're not that flighty. I hope you guys can appreciate this sequence as I show you every individual skink I received, because take a good look. Every single individual has unique coloration and pattern. It's something that I really cherished as I went about unpacking these animals. It was so much fun opening each container, coaxing each skink out of the moss, and then admiring the individual and unique patterns and colorations exhibited by each skink. One of the neat things I did discover through my research online is that this species can be kept communally, which really isn't the case so much for Tribolonotus novaginea or Tribolonotus gracilis. Those species do best as pairs, as attempting to keep multiple males or even multiple females together often leads to physical aggression and sometimes even death. That's why I asked Armin for 6 males and 14 females, so that I could do 4 groups of 1.2s and 2 groups of 1.3s. Okay, everybody arrived safely. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, there isn't a whole lot of information on the natural history of these animals, how it lives and thrives in the Solomon Islands. We can make some safe assumptions given the nature of the genus. These animals supposedly like to hide under different organic debris, and they also are very tiny and thrive in a humid environment. We're going to sort of treat it as the larger Tribolonotus species on a small scale. The only difference is we have to be very careful about water. And the reason for that is I've heard from multiple people that when they have offspring, they're so tiny that they don't break the water barrier or the meniscus, and they oftentimes struggle to get out of it and can actually drown. A lot of people have resorted to not having water dishes in their enclosures. They just spray down leaf litter and whatnot, and they go in there and lap water up, and then they just have the environment stay very moist and humid, and that does it for them. And I'm not really sure if that's the move or not, because I don't want to lose any babies to drowning. I don't think they need to actually be able to go swim and go into water and soak. We may experiment. Alright friends, mini dragon enclosure time. We have some substrates, Zilla jungle mix. I'm also going to be using some Exoterra stone desert substrate. And then here I have some natural leaf foliage. This is bark that I collected from untouched woods nearby. I have soaked it for 24 hours and also froze it. Here's some moss that I propagated myself. And here are an assortment of the plants that we're going to be adding to each individual bin. And lastly, we'll seed each bin with some tropical white springtails. The enclosures we'll be using are these plastic bins. I've pre-drilled the lids and also done some cross ventilation on the sides. First, we're going to mix our substrate. Lots of the clay there in the stone desert substrate. I really wanted a good mix, so we're going to stir this in nicely to get a really good clay-like consistency. This is not only going to benefit the plants with added minerals, but also provide the skinks with a substrate that'll hopefully hold its shape better if they decide to do some digging and burrowing. Alright, at this point I was pretty happy with the consistency we have here. Now it's time to put a few inches of substrate in the bottom of our first bin. I'm also gently patting it down. Now back to all that wood, bark, etc. that I was telling you about at the start. Again, I soaked this for a long time and also froze it. And honestly, I know it's controversial, but I've been using this stuff for many years and never had a problem. The main thing is you're trying to avoid any unwanted hitchhikers from getting into your terrarium or enclosure, and then also making sure that you're collecting these materials from a pesticide-free zone. Now we're carefully going to plant the bins. Here is a small fern that I'm going to insert into this one. I made sure to rinse it thoroughly and also remove as much of the soil as I could from the root system. We're also going to take some of that moss that I propagated myself in some of my dart frog enclosures. I took small clippings and soaked those, and now we're going to go and spray everything down with some reverse osmosis water. And then I wanted to kind of dig out some of the spots under the bark so they could dig more easily. And now we're going to go ahead and seed the terrarium with some springtails. There we go, tap, 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 tap. Perfect. Lastly, all that's left to do is dress the surface with some leaf litter, and we have ourselves a perfect bin for some micro mini dragons. Awesome, what do you guys think? Now all I have to do is repeat this process 5 more times so that we'd have a bin for each of the 6 groups of skinks. For today's question of the day, I'd like to ask you all how you feel about wild-caught animals in the trade. Now, I know that this is a question that I've asked you guys in the past, but perhaps your opinions and ideas about this topic have evolved or changed in the last few years. I'm gonna share my opinion with you all. I'm a firm believer that individual animals coming out of the wild should only be used to systematically establish that species in captivity. That is to say, I don't agree with, say, this skink coming into the trade from the Solomon Islands to become my pet. Now, I know that sounds a little bit hypocritical, but there's a reason I have 20 of these and not one. If you were to get a pair of them, that would also be a different story, and I'd be all fine with that. Again, this is just my opinion. An animal that is coming out of the wild is making an immense sacrifice to be here. Unfortunately, there are also individuals that don't make it. And so the least we can do in that process to make it the most ethical as possible is ensure that their sacrifice leads to the establishment of their species in captivity, which provides the industry with hardier animals that are going to live long, healthy, and fulfilling lives, and also to hopefully ensure that those animals, once imported, end up in very competent and intentional hobbyist hands. Anyway, I gotta leave you guys some room to chime in and share your opinions. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, I'll give your comment a heart and we can engage in a little bit of a conversation. Thanks. All right, everyone, so now that you've seen how we set up the bins that these animals are going to be living in, it's time to create our little breeding groups and house them in their new homes. So we'll start with this one here. A lush little environment for the skinks. We're gonna start with 1.2s. There's gonna obviously be at least a few 1.3s, but for the most part, everybody's gonna be kept as 1.2, 1 male, 2 female ratio. Okay, so we got 2 of our enclosures here, and all the skinks are here. The males are here, and then these are all the females. So let's make some groups. We'll put them in this container here and move them into the terrariums. Maybe we can start with this guy here. This is a very nice looking male. Check out the markings on him. Got the beautiful color red. Okay, females. We got one here. This one actually appears to be expecting. If you look, she's pretty chunky. You can see she's a bit round. That's because she's most likely carrying a baby, which is pretty awesome. Here we go. Here's a good sized female. Lovely dark one. Oh man, these guys look so cool. So there's group number 1. Gonna move them in. Hey buddy, you ready to go home? Whoop. Okay, I'll do this. Female, the one that's most likely gravid, well for sure gravid. My lady, there you go. See how perceptive they are and alert? There you go. And then last but not least, we got one more here. We'll drop them in just like that. Wow, that one wasted no time going into hiding. What about you? Are you just content sitting here? You think you can also go hide? There you go. Awesome, how exciting. All right, we got our male. Look at this guy. I think this is a great female. She's also gravid, but she looks very similar, patterning and whatnot, so trying to be extra gentle since she's carrying a baby. Man, I can't get over these animals. They look incredible. Hello? So small. One of the smallest skinks in the world. You gotta let go of me. There we go. And here, just to kind of show you, you can see the sexual dimorphism. And also you can see the similarity with other Tribolonotus species with that wider head. This here is the male and the female. If you look carefully, you can kind of just tell the males are much larger than the females, and it's really that head shape that tells you. All right, let's pick one more female for this group. Here is a lovely female. We're gonna group with these two. Here we go. Whoa, 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 whoa. There we go. Here you go, madame. Alright, so here's some younger females and a younger male. These ones will go together in this enclosure here. Oh my gosh, it's crazy how they just climb right up. Here you go. Here you go, girl. Hey, buddy. Oh! Where are you going? Hey, look, it's a finger skink. Here you go. Wow! Look at the markings on this guy, too. It's always funny when I have a wild-caught animal. I mean, not funny, but you know what I mean. That's missing a tail or has a regrown tail. It makes me question, like, what tried to eat them, or what were they up against that made them drop their tail? I'm always curious. Look at that little face, come on. This guy has some really cool colors. Nice reds. This is a lovely female. Oh, 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 oh. Go ahead, girl. She's like, I don't want to go in there. Let me go. She's gonna climb my hand instead, probably. Okay, perfect. This lovely young female. And then lastly, we have the male. Here you go, sir. Off you go. It's a great sized male. See how alert he is? And obviously he's trying to get away, I don't blame him, but he's looking around, he's trying to figure things out. What an animal. See, he's watching me now. You know, they're paying attention. Second last male chosen. There's one female. Good. She looks great, and I think she's also gravid. We'll put her in here. Got another female here. She's gonna come bolting out probably. Yep. You coming to join us here? Come on. There you go. And then lastly, one more. Wow, look at the color on this one. She's pretty red. Her tail is, at least. Oh, look at her standing up like that. How cool is that position? It's like tripoding like a monitor. Now, it's interesting to note, this female is significantly smaller than the largest of the three, but I think she's actually gravid or expecting, given the girth. So it seems like they're reproductively viable at a smaller size for what appears to be maturity. And I see this with the red and white eyes too. The females continue to grow, but they're reproductively viable at a much younger size. I think we chose well. Look at them. Pretty straightforward here which one the male is. The one that's kind of on top there. Okay, so here we go. Right away you can see they're going into hiding. Go ahead. Alright, now I just gotta get the male in there. Hello, sir. Look at this boy. He is a lovely animal. In you go. It's your new home. I really hope you guys all do really well. Well, my friends, there you have it. A lengthy video of me setting up, unboxing, and starting a new branch within the Project Mini Dragon series. I'm so excited to be keeping 3 species from this remarkable genus, and I'm really looking forward to making every effort to document and share my experiences with you all so that you can learn about these animals alongside me and also have just as much success or more keeping them. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like. And if you keep or hope to keep Tribolonotus skinks, I would strongly encourage you to join these Facebook community pages to learn from other keepers, ask questions, and more. Thank you all so much for watching. I can't wait to give you all an exciting update on how these animals are doing, and thank you again to Armin from Herp Time for making this stream possible. Take care everyone, enjoy your day.